What if characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe were Pokemon trainers? Part 2. How's it going, everyone? Fus Force back again with another discussion video for our series, Marvel Characters as Pokemon Trainers. Before we get into it, be sure to subscribe if you're new here, and smash that like button. Also, don't forget to leave your opinions down in the comments below. Before we get started, let's be reminded of our rules for these lists. Rule number 1. Pokemon won't be chosen based off appearances alone. This is because saying a Pokemon looks like a character is a matter of opinion. This list will be based on similarities to their character or actions mostly. Rule number 2. Duplicate Pokemon will be allowed. This is to allow me to make multiple connections across different characters and highlight similarities and differences between said characters. Rule number 3. Each character will be given a full team of 6 Pokemon. This is to ensure that we can make multiple connections for each character and fully discuss the deeper meanings of these choices. Alright, this is your one and only spoiler warning. We're going to be talking anything and everything about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Click away now. You have been warned. You have been warned. You have been warned, people. We continue our journey into the MCU with the friendly neighborhood hero himself, Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. When thinking about what team to give everyone's favorite hero from Queens, my mind first thought of the many different spider Pokemon. After some thought, I decided on just one to give him. Which one best embodies Peter Parker as a whole? Well, dear viewer, you're just gonna have to wait and see. Let's get into it. Team member number 1, Scraggy. To start, let me first clarify that we're discussing Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and the characteristics that I've observed from his appearance in the MCU. If you'd like to see other versions of Spider-Man covered in future videos, be sure to let me know. I chose Scraggy to start off Peter's team for a few reasons. Firstly, Peter Parker is still a young hero. He's still growing and learning from his experiences. I think it's necessary to give him some Pokemon that aren't fully evolved or mature for this reason. Secondly, Scraggy's description shares a few characteristics with Peter Parker. Let's take Scraggy's Pokedex entry from Pokemon Sword, for example. If it locks eyes with you, watch out. Nothing and no one is safe from the reckless headbutts of this troublesome Pokemon. While Spider-Man doesn't go around randomly headbutting people, he does jump into the mix at the first sign of trouble. We see this in Spider-Man Homecoming. Peter is literally looking for trouble because he's bored after his first true mission where he literally got to fight Captain America. Peter jumps into these situations throughout the entire movie and even acts recklessly at times. Another thing to consider is that Scraggy has access to the ability Moxie, which boosts its stats after it defeats an enemy. I feel like this perfectly describes how determined and enthusiastic Peter is during combat. He absolutely loves taking out the bad guy, and genuinely enjoys the thrill of the fight. If Peter were a Pokemon himself, this would definitely be his ability. Well, that or Sticky Hold, but I digress. Team member number 2, Ninjask. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. This one definitely sounds weird, but hear me out. I chose Ninjask because it reminds me of Peter's spider drone. Now, this isn't the only comparison, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning. Ninjask is a very agile and speedy Pokemon. I feel like Peter would need a few speedy Pokemon to keep up with his hectic job of being a superhero. Ninjask also has the ability Speed Boost, as well as access to several stat-altering and sharing moves. I feel like this is where Ninjask would shine as the new spider drone. I feel like Peter would make good use of Ninjask's moveset as well. Looking at the Learn set from Generation 8, there's a few moves that stick out to me. Moves such as Double Team, Mind Reader, or Baton Pass would be excellent utility moves in the field, while moves such as Metal Claw, X-Scissor, and Air Slash would prove to be powerful weapons in battle. I can see it now. Peter notices a threat and immediately jumps into action. Out pops Ninjask with a burst of speed, and it rushes forward to scout the area. They make for a good team. Team member number 3, Galvantula. Finally, we have the spider for Spider-Man. I had a tough time deciding on which to choose when thinking of the different spider Pokemon that currently exist in the National Dex. I feel like I made the right choice with Galvantula, and here's why. When thinking of the character Spider-Man, we have to first consider which version best fits what Pokemon. For example, I believe that Miles Morales' Spider-Man would have a completely different team, but that's a topic for a future video. Tom Holland's adaptation of Peter Parker shows the more quirky side of Spider-Man. We have to remember that Peter Parker is just a teenager in the MCU. Galvantula has a lot of good utility moves that would really aid in the day-to-day crime fighting of a teenager. While a good argument could be made for Ariados, I feel like Galvantula, compared to the rest of the spider Pokemon, best fits Tom Holland's adaptation of Peter Parker, at least in my opinion. We also see in the MCU Spider-Man appearances that Peter has access to a variety of unique webbings, like the Taser Web. I feel like Galvantula and Peter would have way too much fun with a combo of Electro Web and Taser Webs on an enemy. Alright everyone, we're halfway through the video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more. Thanks, let's get back to the video. Team member number 4, Scizor. Now it's time to start making connections with other MCU characters. When looking at the character growth of Peter Parker over the course of MCU, it's crucial to mention his father figure and role model, Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. Just so you know, we did an entire separate video for what if Iron Man was a Pokemon trainer. You should totally go check it out. Okay, sorry, shameless plug over. We first see the dynamic of Peter and Tony's relationship in Spider-Man Homecoming. Peter is fresh off of his first true mission and eager to jump back into the mix. Tony throughout this movie pushes Peter to learn the harsh truths of being a hero. This fatherly role is shown more throughout the MCU, especially in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. In many ways, Peter is a lot like Tony. We even see him utilizing his tech and designing suits. I feel like Scizor is a great addition to Peter's team because I initially considered placing him on Tony's team in the first place. Scizor is an agile and powerful Pokemon. Scizor also has access to a Mega Evolution. At least when Game Freak decides to bring Megas back. Please bring Megas back. Signed, every fan ever. Scizor's Mega Evolution is a direct parallel to the adaptability of Tony Stark's tech. As we mentioned in my Tony Stark video, which you should totally check out, Stark technology always adapts. We can see this adaptability in Mega Scizor's ability Technician, which improves the base power of weaker moves. Scizor already gave me huge Iron Man vibes, and Peter is the spiritual successor to Tony's legacy. I feel as if this choice for Peter's team just fits. What do you think? Team member number 5, Hoopa. Now we get into some characteristics of Peter Parker overall. Now, for the sake of this discussion, we'll be using Hoopa's confined form. There could be applications for the unbound form, but I felt like the confined form had more parallels. Firstly, the mischievous personality of Hoopa matches with a few important decisions that Peter has made. In the latest Spider-Man movie, No Way Home, we see Peter dealing with the consequences of his choices. Hoopa's true form was sealed away in response to his actions while using his power. We see Peter lose everything as the world forgets about him in the end of No Way Home. Because of this initial choice to try to create a spell, then alter it while Doctor Strange was attempting to cast it, he has to suffer the consequences. While this isn't a direct parallel, it still caught my eye. Both Peter and Hoopa attempted to use magical power that was beyond their control, and it resulted in a negative outcome for them both. Secondly, the childlike innocence of Hoopa that we see in the anime reminded me of Tom Holland's Peter Parker. It's crucial to remember that Peter is still just a teenager in a world full of adult heroes. He's learning the ropes and coming to terms with the consequences of his actions. I feel like these two would definitely understand each other. They both have made mistakes and have learned from those mistakes. And lastly, I believe that Peter would be in awe of Hoopa's power, just as much as he was with Doctor Strange's. I also believe that Hoopa would find Peter's web slinging around the city to be very amusing. Team member number 6, Metagross. And now we get to my absolute favorite pick for Peter Parker. Metagross, in my opinion, is the best choice for Spider-Man's ace for a few reasons. Firstly, Metagross is a hyper-intelligent Pokemon. We see throughout the MCU that Peter is just as much of a genius as his father figure Tony Stark. We see him creating his own web fluid, designing brand new supersuits, and even curing serious ailments of his own enemies. I feel like Peter deserves just as much credit as an intellectual as he does a superhero or just comic relief at times. He's a freaking genius. Secondly, Metagross has the steel typing, which draws parallels to the nanotech that Peter uses in certain situations. We see him cleverly use his nanotech to assist him in a variety of situations, such as his fight with Octavius in No Way Home. He was able to cleverly use his technology to take control of the situation, which ultimately led to the events later in the plot about curing the ailments of his enemies. And lastly, while Metagross isn't technically considered a spider Pokemon, it does fit the look. I know this isn't about appearances, and I've made that clear at the beginning of the list, but I had to include just one. It's just too perfect. I love how shiny Metagross has that hint of gold just like Peter's new suit does in No Way Home. Well, that's my list. What do you think? Was this list spot on, or do I need to go back and rewatch these amazing movies again? Also, what about this list would you change and why? Let's get some conversations going in the comments. I love talking to you guys. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. I had a blast making this, and I would love to make more if y'all want me to. Let me know. Have yourself an incredible rest of your day, but above all else, stay excellent to each other, and I'll see you next time.